Hey there guys, this is AdamantLife. Welcome to episode 10 of Big Picture Pythons, the Big 1-0, the Python tutorial series where we start out with the big picture and then fill in the details as we need them. So, I promised this episode that we'd be moving on to the next screen, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So, what we're actually going to have to do is we're going to have to take a step back, and this will explain why I had us subclass tk.frame, and that's because if we just started with this login screen and then started doing stuff, we'd never be able to really navigate too easily around the program. This makes it a lot easier to navigate, and it's going to keep our future classes smaller. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make another class called main and make that a tk.frame, and then we're going to initialize it like so, and then I'm going to have a function define get character, and then in here we're going to do lf equals login frame self, and we pack that. And then what we're actually going to do is we're going to steal these buttons out of this frame right here, and we're going to actually put these in our main frame. And that's going to require a couple of changes to our code, so we'll go ahead and make those now. Obviously, destroy gets popped up here, and self.destroy command equals destroy command, and we copy this up. And we change this down here to self.destroy. And then this self.load character is actually going to use the lf.character, self.load character, and then lf.load character. And in order to make this work, you'll recall that at no point before we were using parentheses. So as I explained, the reason we weren't using parentheses is because this would fire right away and set the command here. What we can do is we can create a lambda function, which the most basic form of it is just like that. And now this basically creates a more or less temporary function that can be assigned to the command. And so when this button is pushed, it will fire the lambda function, and inside the lambda function it is this. So the way we'd do this if we couldn't use lambda functions for some reason is we'd just define load character, self.load character, lf.load character, like that. Well, with those parentheses there. And then we would just pass load character to that button command. So down here in lf.load character, let's return character, and we will just have character here instead of holding on to the reference. And down here, then we hop back up here, and this is a lot of in-between work right now just to get it flowing, but we will be in just a moment we'll get to the point where we actually get to make our next screen. So this receives a character because lf.load character returns a character, so it will send the character to this function. And if not character, so if somehow this gets screwed up, we'll return and just leave it off like that. Otherwise, we can go ahead and say self.character equals character, and now we can do edit character, self.edit character. And actually, I know we just assigned this here, but I'm going to pass this on just because it will be assumably a little cleaner in the future. And now we're ready for our next frame. So, our next screen. So, I will do edit character, self character, self.character equals character. And then I'm going to use a special function. Actually, I'm going to make this a method that this class has in general. that's normally how I do it. So I'm going to do clear. I normally call it clear mod because I normally make an extra frame in here, but we'll just say clear self for now. And we will do self.winfo children for child in, you will recall this for loop from the previous episode, and now I will call child.destroy. So this will destroy everything inside the window, which currently is the LF frame and the BF frame, and the BF frame will obviously end up destroying as a result the two buttons that we had. So we call that self.clearSelf, and that will clear out this TK frame, and then we can create our next screen, which will be edit equals edit frame, self, and character equals character, and then we can pack that. So now we just go ahead and we can go ahead and make another TK frame named edit character. And we'll come back to this part right here, obviously, because there's no way to, because we'll end up navigating away from it in the same manner as before with load and quit, or save and quit probably. But let's start making that next frame. And class edit frame, and we super do all the subclassing stuff that we need. And then we start talking about what we need in this frame. So let's hop over to the drawing pad. Alright, so we're going to have our frame, and I'll just make this extra big because there's probably going to be a lot of stuff in here. And I think the first thing that we are going to need is character name. So we'll go ahead and put a label here and an entry here. And there we are. And then we're just going to pop back over here and we're going to look at the different things that we have here just to remind ourselves. So we're going to have aliases. This is a list, so we'll probably consider using a list box. And then we have this weapon, shield, backpack. And this is not actually anything that our users should probably be entering at the moment. So we can easily skip extra keywords. So let's hop back over. And for aliases, I think the way we should probably do this, in my personal opinion, is we'll probably end up tossing this in a frame. So actually, let me start color coding this stuff. So we'll have black for frames, blues for labels, red for entries. So let us get that next frame that I was talking about. So there it is, and it's a little wide right now, I think, for what we're going to be using it for, but I'm thinking that what we do is we'd have an entry right here, and then probably two buttons right here, and these buttons will make yellow, and then we'll have a list box right here, and that will make green for our diagram. So I'm thinking add and remove right here for buttons. We'll type the alias name in the box, and then the list box will contain all our aliases. So if we click something in the list box, we can hit remove. Otherwise, if we have anything in the entry box, we'll hit add and add it to the list box. There we go. And then for the weapons and making that stuff, chances are, yeah, I think how we're going to do this is we will go ahead and make another frame down here. And then we'll have labels along the edge here. And these will say sword, shield, backpack. And then we'll have a combo box in the middle here. And these will contain material list. So we'll go ahead and make a material list to accommodate that. And then we'll have an entry down the end to supply the name. And there we go. And I can foresee us making one minor change to this, but otherwise this looks pretty good. Yeah? So let's go with that. This will be our big picture for this frame. So we got some frames. Let's just set those up right away. So CF equals character equals tk.frame. That's going to be a character name frame. AF is going to be our alias frame. And then EF is going to be our equipment frame. And then we will just use that trick that we had before to just pack everything on top of each other, since we're not doing anything special right now. So in the character frame, we have a tk.label, CF. I won't make the same mistake as last time. And that's going to have character name. Then we're going to have an entry. And we will call that self.character name. And then we just got to pack these. And again, it's not really worth it to use anything special here. We'll just toss the packs on because it's only 2 items. And then in the aliases frame, we have an entry. And then we are going to title that alias entry equals. And I'm not going to do self here just because this is a really insignificant part of the UI. This isn't something that we're really going to need to worry about outside of this part right here. So I'm just going to leave it like that. And then under that, we're going to have a button frame. And that's something we didn't draw, but in order to get our buttons going left, right there, that's what we'll do. Alternatively, there is something else we can do with gridding, but I think we're just going to leave it like this. And then inside that button frame, we're going to have tdk.button bf text equals add command equals self dot. Actually, we're going to do lambda self dot add alias entry dot get. Again, we didn't give this a permanent reference throughout the whole entire. We didn't make an attribute of our frame, so we'll just pass it to it. And then tdk.button bf text equals remove command equals self dot remove alias. And we packed both of those side by side. And then we have a tk.listbox in AF, and we'll call that self.aliases or character aliases. That'd probably be more explicit. And then we just stack those on top of each other. So this will be stacking just so that we're all on, keeping track of what's happening here. Aliases entries, BF, and character aliases. It won't be stacking to these buttons, obviously, so make sure you always keep in mind exactly what's happening in your program. You don't want to start thinking that something's happening and then have it turn out that it's not happening. And then down here in our equipment frame, we will go ahead and do labels. And just for the reference, we changed this from sword to weapon, so I'm making that change here. And then we need our combo boxes, so that's going to be TDK at TDK widget, EF, and then we got to make the list, so let's go ahead and do that now. So up here at the top of our file, our awesome characters files, I'll do equipment, materials, and I added basic iron, steel, platinum, gold, adamantine, masterwork, since I know we had a masterwork backpack before. And there's a couple different things that we can keep in mind here. One, we could theoretically have this list changeable by keeping it inside of a file, and then we can always add the file and then have somewhere in our program where we can edit the available equipment materials. So that's one way to handle equipment materials, is just to have it a flexible file that can be updated within the program. And the other thing that we can do is we can also set our combo box to accept new values, and that won't populate this list. It won't add to this list unless we add code behind it to add stuff to the list when we finish editing our character. But we could use that way so that we don't have to select a material from the list. So back over here, values equals equipment material. And I'm going to do state equals read only. That way we only use the values out of the list. So I won't make it possible for the user to add more values here. And I'm going to label that self.weapon just weapon material. It's not that many extra letters. And I'll just copy this down because these are all going to function essentially the same way. And we'll just change the label there. The reference, rather. Awesome. And then we have a tk.entry, ef, and these are going to be called self.weapon name equals, and copy down as usual. Alright, so as you can see, I didn't use any geometry managers on these, and that's because I'm going to be showing you another geometry manager. If we look back at our picture, you'll see that these are more or less gridded out. So these are in line, these are in line, and then a line here going horizontally. So that's what we're going to do. So we will dot grid, row equals 0, because we always start with 0 index, column equals 0, and then we'll just work our way down. So this will be row 1, this will be row 2, and then these down here will be rows 1 and 2, and all of them will be column 1. And same deal, 1 and 2 here, and column 2. And we should be good there. So, let's see. All this stuff is gridded, this is packed. So it looks like we should be good, except for one thing. We're getting a character in here, so let's self.character equals character. And then we're going to go ahead and fill everything out. So cn dot insert and character dot name for alias in character dot aliases, self dot character aliases dot insert and alias. And I just realized we made a little bit of an error. So in here we have one more thing to add, which is an item name. So for example, a sword or what have you. So let's go ahead and fix that really quick. And I'll make that a combo, and we'll just go ahead and use the item weights dictionary for that, which will give us the added benefit of being able to equip our character with a shield to attack, or with a with a shield to attack with, or a candle to attack with. So weapon item name TDK combo, item weights state read only, grid, and now we'll start fixing these. So 1, 2, and I just copied this up from down here. So down here, the material things are going to have to get bumped up to column 2 and column 3 for the name entries. And we'll come back at some point and we'll fix this so that, you know, we're not using item weights. But for now, we just want to get through this, so let's get going. There's a couple different ways we can figure out what to put in the combo box or how to assign the combo box. But I think I'm just going to do set. I'm going to use our set widget function. So set widget self.weapon item name and self.character.weapon.item name. And then because we've been keeping everything uniform, I can just kind of copy down here and start changing stuff. So there we go. We were able to use set widget for all of our widgets, the combo boxes and the entries. And you can see each time I just did weapon shield backpack, changed those, changed the attribute that we were grabbing from this frame. And then I stripped out that self because that self was really unnecessary in self.character. And then we just do weapon shield backpack dot weapon shield backpack, and then dot whatever it is, so item name, material, and name. Easy peasy. There's a lot of automation that we could do to this using lists and get and set attributes, for example. But we'll go ahead and just keep it explicit right now. So for example, what I mean is a lot of this code could be written in a few different lines, and then each time we add an attribute, we can just change the list that generates the code. But for right now, for just starting off, I think it's best just to keep these like this, that we can see what is happening. And that should be everything, I think. Actually, one thing I am going to do, now that I'm thinking about it, is I'm going to change this character name from an entry to a combo box. And the reason I'm doing that is because our self.aliases is the thing that contains our character name. Instead, down here, when we're talking about our characters' aliases, we'll just do cn values equals self.character.aliases. There we go, and that will populate it with the list of aliases. And then we can, I'll go ahead and just set the name afterwards. So set widget here, and I've got to scroll back up here and change this to read only. That way we make sure that the only way to change the character's name to something completely random is to first add it as an alias. That way we never lose aliases. And the next thing we should do is we should add a way to save this character, to take all this information and throw it back into the character. And actually, I think I'm going to save that for next time because we are running a little bit long. So just to button up this part up here, we're going to go ahead and add our buttons. So we've got our button frame, nothing unusual there. tdk.button, we've seen this before, save character. We'll have to write this function, this save character function for this main frame. And that's just going to get edit.saveCharacter, which was the function we were going to write. tdk.button, bf, text cancel, plain and normal, command self.getCharacter. So what I'm now going to do is, since we're just going to send us back up to our get character, our first login screen, I'm going to add to the character to the get character login screen self.clearSelf. That way it will clear out this edit screen. And furthermore, I'm going to head down bottom here, and after we pack the base, I'm going to call base.getCharacter. That way we go to the loading screen immediately, rather than do it in the initiate function. I actually don't like setting up GUIs in the initiate function for the main frame. That way, if we ever want to change what frame comes up first, we can just do it outside of it. We don't have to change any code inside of the main frame. So that should be good for us today. Like I said, the only other thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to talk about saving this character, because that will bring up a couple different questions, and we will go ahead and write that code around what we decide. So otherwise, if you want to start taking a crack at that, at saving the character, then you can go ahead and do so, obviously. You have more than enough tools to work with that, and we'll talk about what we want to do with it next time otherwise. So, thank you for watching. Please like, favorite, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, wherever you're at in the world, please have a wonderful day, afternoon, or evening, and I will catch you next time.